The school shooting in Florida and its aftermath have dominated this day. A report from the Broward County Sheriff's Office now says the teenage suspect confessed to the attack. That word came as a city grieved for its losses. Reporter Steve Mort with Feature Story News begins our coverage.
For Parkland, Florida, it's a date never to be forgotten, when a routine school day turned into terror.
I thank God for watching over me yesterday to make sure I was on the whole opposite side of the building, that my friends were okay, but I just found out this morning that 2 of my other friends passed away.
Some held a vigil today to mourn the 17 killed at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. The suspect, 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz, appeared in court in Fort Lauderdale. He was ordered held without bond on 17 counts of premeditated murder as investigators kept working the case.
We'll do everything we can, the FBI, ourselves, to make sure that this person is convicted of all charges and that justice is served.
Police say Cruz's assault began at 2:30 in the afternoon, almost the end of the school day. Gunfire echoed through the building as students huddled in their classrooms, an agonizing wait before armed police burst in to rescue them. They streamed out of the school, hands in the air, while emergency workers rushed to treat the wounded. Luckier students had tearful reunions with parents and friends.
I feel like I'm in a dream. I don't believe this is real. There's no way to describe what happened.
Among the dead, Douglas High football coach Aaron Feis. Sheriff Scott Israel says Feis responded immediately to the shooter and may have prevented an even worse tragedy.
The kids in this community loved him. They adored him. He was one of the greatest people I knew. He was a phenomenal man. He did it protecting others. You could guarantee that, because that's who Aaron Feis was.
Investigators descended today on the home of the suspect, a picture already emerging of a deeply troubled young man. A former student at Douglas High School, Cruz was expelled for disciplinary reasons. The sheriff reported very disturbing posts by Cruz on social media, including one last fall in which he supposedly said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." But none of this helps restore normalcy to Parkland. Instead, it finds itself another shaken community struggling to recover. And as people here absorb the latest in a never-ending string of shootings, many here are asking, where will the carnage end?
It's now 3:13.
David Hogg was barricaded in a classroom while the shooter opened fire.
We can say all these great things like, condolences and saying we're so sorry for your loss is obviously important. But what we need at this point is not to say that anymore, because there shouldn't be any more children that die. We need to take action.
Our entire nation.
In Washington, President Trump said he'll go to Parkland to visit with victims and tackle the difficult issue of mental health.
To every parent, teacher, and child who is hurting so badly, we are here for you, whatever you need, whatever we can do to ease your pain.
The president made no mention of gun control, but Democrats sounded new calls for action on guns. Congressman Mike Thompson, chair of the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force.
There's been 80 school shootings since this president was inaugurated. This is a crisis. There's not a parent or a grandparent in the United States of America who doesn't feel concerned about the safety of their children or their grandchildren.
But majority Republicans, including Florida Senator Marco Rubio, say stricter laws would not deter someone determined to murder.
If someone's decided, I'm going to commit this crime, they'll find a way to get the gun to do it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a law that makes it harder. It just means understand, to be honest. It isn't going to stop this from happening.
Police say Cruz used a semi-automatic AR-15. It's the same model used in last year's Las Vegas massacre and in the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting.
I spoke to Steve Mort just a short time ago as we get new information from authorities.
More details coming out from law enforcement officials here at a press conference just a short time ago here in Parkland, Florida. We understand that the suspect, Nikolas Cruz, did confess to carrying out this shooting rampage at the high school here, and he gave law enforcement officials some details during his questioning. One of the things he said that he did was he brought extra ammunition with him to the school so he could carry on shooting with his AR-15 rifle once he was out of ammunition. He brought more. He stored it in a backpack at the school so he would have access to it. So information there on exactly how he planned to carry out the attack. He said he started shooting people on the grounds and then inside the school itself. We got a timeline on how things unfolded. Apparently he took an Uber to the school. He took an Uber at about 6 minutes past 2 in the afternoon, finally arriving at the school at 2:19, which is when he entered the stairwell of the school and began shooting at around 2:21. So the timeline pretty much in line with what law enforcement officials have been telling us since the beginning, but we're getting more details now on what he did after the shooting. Apparently he went to a nearby Walmart where he ordered food. He went to a Subway, he ordered a McDonald's meal, so certainly chilling details which kind of give a picture of the kind of person maybe that had planned to do this kind of shooting and carried out this premeditated attack.
And Steve, you've also been talking to some parents and some students.
Yes, that's right. I've spent the day talking to several students and their parents here, and of course, as you can imagine, it's been a very traumatic time for them. I spoke to one mother whose daughter had been in the classroom where their geography teacher had been shot. She saw the geography teacher on the floor, shot and killed. She said she thought she heard somebody saying, "Help me, help me." The teacher had gone to the door and closed it, and that, she said, is when she saw the teacher shot. That's according to her mother, who was messaging, sending text messages to her daughter at the time, trying to keep her calm. I spoke to another student called Kelsey, who was also in that classroom. She says she was sheltering in a cupboard with her friends. The shooter didn't enter the classroom, so therefore her friends were okay in the end. She said that the SWAT team at the school got them out very quickly. They told them to leave the classroom, to exit the school, not to look around them, not to look at anything that was going on, just keep the hands above their head and leave the school as quickly as they could.
So many disturbing details emerging from this terrible tragedy. Steve Mort joining us from Lakeland, Florida. Thank you, Steve.